Um, in the past, when we did our planning and some of the topics, we always tried to find speakers, program activities that's going to bring us together as sisters, that's going to unite us, to bring us closer. So every year we try to think of something that will bring us closer as sisters. And this year we're going to try mentorship. We had adopt a sister. We don't know how it's going to work yet, but we would like to put something in the works to bring us closer. So today I'm just going to talk about what is mentorship. Chloe, my first slide, please. Huh? What's happening? Oh, I didn't put you as a co-host? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you? Okay. Or just allow me to share. Okay, there you go. Okay. Okay, ladies. Mentorship. We see the different faces of the ladies. So what is a mentorship? Chloe, our second slide, please. According to the world, the corporate world, this is their diagram of mentoring. It involves some training, some motivation, advice, so that you could be successful, to turn you around into the right direction, and involve some coaching, some support, and then the main point is to reach your goal. Next. What is a mentor? They support. A mentor is a more experienced person who provides guidance, support, and advice to a less experienced individual, helping them to learn and grow. This is often in a professional or personal development context. A mentor, as a trusted counselor or guide, they're there to help someone in their full potential. This may involve helping you achieve your personal goals, introducing you to new ways of thinking, challenging your limited assumption, sharing valuable life lessons, and then this includes a lot more. So a mentor is different from a coach. A mentor shares their knowledge. They share their skills, their experience. They help others to grow. But a coach just provides to another on their own goals and help them reach their potential. A great mentor doesn't just provide advice, they genuinely care about the success of their mentees and are willing to go out of their way to help them achieve them. Our next slide is, can anyone here think of some example of mentorship or a time in which you serve as a mentor? Can someone tell me what is a mentor? I just gave you some example, but from personal. Anyone? Think of mentorship on jobs or somewhere. Where do you think they have mentorships at?
Somebody like the supervisor that looks over you and helps you through tough times.
Okay. Can you think of any organization or program or
Some
job?
school programs have mentors to help adolescents or youths.
Okay. Anyone else?
The AKAs used to have something at Helene Grant School where they would go to the school and teach the girls about, I don't know, successful living, how to succeed in life, etiquette.
Okay. Anyone else?
As a nurse, as a nurse, you often have a mentor, and eventually you get to the point, where you're the mentee to, teach that nurse and train that nurse, on everything that, and show them, how to be compassionate and different things with care. And then I know just going through the church, there's a lot of mentor mentee relationships that I've seen within the church, with myself and with others that have mentored me, and me with the opportunity to mentor other young ladies, even if it's just, taking them out to spend time with them, just to check on them, from time to time, have them over, to your house, talk with them about different things that they may need to help them grow spiritually, help with tools to help them to, get those things to grow spiritually, things like that. It should always be mentor mentee relationships happening around us.
Yep. What is the value? Why do you think companies have those? What is the value for the company to have mentorships or to a program? What's the benefit, the value to the company? Anyone?
I think it helps make their employees more productive.
Okay.
And then they don't have to lose them and start training someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Anyone else?
It helps them so that they feel secure with having any type of questions to help them out, say if they have any problems or they just kind of feel a little bit lost, just to kind of guide them.
Okay. Anyone other than Sister Newt never been a mentor?
I have.
Okay.
Sister Rountree.
Yes.
To me, a mentor, that person who like lead you in the right way.
Yeah. Exactly. So the company is not just doing this just to be doing it. They expect to get something out of it. True?
Yes.
Yes.
So
It also helps.
go ahead.
I was going to say it also helps further their business because it expands. Like if they get other employees that come in, the mentee becomes the mentor, and then it just keeps on going and going. Where it helps them in reality, it helps them train the rest of the employees, train everyone else that's coming in, and it's just like a domino effect of spreading the knowledge about the company.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's for the success of the company.
Company.
Because if you don't train them in the way that you need your company to run, it's not successful. So there's certain things and certain ways you want them to be able to handle and do things in order for your company to be successful in the long run.
Exactly. That's the value. They do it so that they can become successful and keep like you said, a cycle going. Training. Yeah. So at one point, all of us should be a mentor and a mentee. Yeah. We should be teaching and we should be learning.
Ola.
Yes. Yes. Joy.
No, I think one example is to be an example yourself. Be an example to whatever you teaching or whatever you saying. Don't let it just be words. You be an example of what you teach.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, Chloe, the next slide, we're going to go. Okay, the next one talked about that, some example of mentorship or a time in which you served. Our next one, we're going to give some examples. They mentor in the companies or corporation. As Rhonda said, mentoring youth and students. And of course, in business and industry. They have mentoring programs in schools and on college campus. Of course, different organizations have mentoring. And then mentoring in the community and the church. And eventually we're going to talk about the mentoring in the church because that is what our goal is. Next. Okay, now we're going to talk about the importance of spiritual mentors. It's different than the corporate because you're more invested. You both may walk in God's way. And in a company, you might have the same goal for that company, but you don't have that same goal spiritually. They're just trying to make sure their company strive and continue. And they want you to learn, but they're really not that invested in your soul, or they just want you to be able to help them maintain their company. But a spiritual mentor, they walk together with God. You must align with his will in the way of living. And Amos 3:3 said, we both may walk in God's way. This is a we thing. You need someone to pour into you. Everyone needs someone to pour into them, regardless of who you are. Leaders should consider the advice of others. Exodus 18:13-26. Older people often give wise advice. Now, you know, they said often. There's some foolish old people, but it says older people often give wise advice. That's 1 Kings 12:1-11. And then you need someone to pour into. Wise people seek advice. Proverbs 1:5. And give advice to those in need. There's some people don't think they need advice on anything. They think they know it all, but that's not true. We all need some advice from someone, and we need to be given advice to someone. Why do you think it's so hard for us to do that? What do you think the problem is, that we don't want to take advice from others? Or we don't want to give advice to others? What do you think stops us?
Our pride.
Pride?
You believe it? Yeah, we said to maybe a shame. You're ashamed.
Ashamed to ask
to somebody.
Ashamed to ask somebody. Anyone else?
Oftentimes, maybe just the willingness isn't there sometimes, because to mentor does take work, and then to be a mentee, like you say, you do have the pride there, but you have to be willing to, take the advice of another person. And oftentimes, a lot of people just aren't willing to heed the advice of someone else that, may be a little wiser. I know, like with myself, I really didn't have too many women, like, just kind of step out to mentor me. I just kept my eyes open, and just watched what a lot of sisters did. But then when I saw certain women and how they lived, I had to ask them, to kind of have that mentor-mentee relationship with me. But oftentimes women don't just voluntarily offer themselves in that way. And that's been my experience with mentee relationships.
Right.
I think it also has to do with trust. You know, I think if we built a relationship first, it would be easier for us to be able to give advice as well as accept advice from others. But not knowing someone, it's kind of hard to take what they say. Especially if you've been hurt in the past and, you know, you got past issues which you can't get over, or trust issues or whatever. So I think it's really important that we build that trust connection first. I think it makes it a whole lot easier for me anyway.
Amen.
Amen. Anyone else? Yes, it takes a lot to go up and just give advice to someone that you think really need it. And as you say, you probably thinking they saying, well, how can you tell me you're not perfect? How you gonna be giving me advice? You need to take advice, or you have children, you need to give them that advice. But then the Bible said that it doesn't matter who it's coming from, if it's the gospel, if it's the truth, but we can't get past that. We can't get past the person to hear the truth. And I think that's where women have struggled on uniting with one another, of trusting that I really genuine and I have your best interests. But like you said, you gotta build that trust. You gotta build that friendship. We all have friends, I think, that will just tell us just like it is. And you know they don't hold back and they tell you, but you know they love you. And it's okay they tell you because you tell them. And that's the kind of friendship we have to have with one another. I'm not going to get mad at you because you told me that, because it is the truth. Yeah, girl, I know it's the truth. I have to do better. But until we form those friendships, those close connections, we're going to always not utilize the importance that God wants us to on giving advice, seeking advice, pouring into one another. The next.
Can I add a comment?
Yeah, yes.
Go ahead. I think someone else was.
I was going to say sometimes we can give advice and people don't necessarily heed it right away, but later on they'll find out that you were telling them the truth.
Yes, you know, yes.
Amen. I was going to say, I know you started talking about, like the corporate model for mentors and mentees. But with, successful companies, they realize that, it is important to have those mentor-mentee relationships. And sometimes, and I think Sister Tanya alluded to some of it, oftentimes in the church where we really need mentor-mentee relationships, we oftentimes may not have them because of maybe the trust and, taking the time to, invest in the relationship first. I know it myself, even though women didn't necessarily, of course, no one's just going to invite themselves into your life if it's not asked oftentimes. And I know more so now than ever. But once it was asked, like I know once I, asked, like Sister Reed or Sister Charmaine, those are different women in my life where I asked, for them to, spend time with me. And spend time at their house and things like that, where they actually opened up and, was happy for the invitation. But it of course happened, over time, like developing the, relationship, that was needed. And I know myself with different ones, like different young ladies, that have asked me, Sister Newton, would you mind spending some time with me or talking to me? And I had one sister actually ask, would you mind, mentoring me, because she entered into a place in her life where she hadn't been before. So oftentimes, we may not need, we may just need mentoring for certain things, but it is important for us to, be open to each other, but then allow ourselves to be open, to other people.
Why do you think these ladies didn't come to you and you had to go to them? What do you think? That they didn't know you, or?
I think when I look back, they did know me because they were my counselors. They were my counselors, but I think my case was maybe like a unique case because at a young age, I think I was like 21 when my minister at the time asked me um, to teach in the ladies class and lead along with a few other ladies. I think on that part, maybe just some sisters maybe didn't think I really needed it. I don't know. But when I did open up, or not that they didn't think I needed it, I'm sure they knew I needed it because I was just this young girl, or young lady in Christ, striving to learn what, needed to be done as, learning to be a spiritual leader, a teacher and those kind of things. But I think it's that thing where people don't oftentimes just feel comfortable, inviting themselves into your life without a, invitation, unless, something is set up to foster it. I think that's kind of, been my experience.
Yeah.
Ola,
Yes.
on giving advice, I think sometimes we feel like we got to be perfect before we can give advice, because, and we know nobody is perfect. And there have been some times in your life that maybe you're afraid they'll bring it up or say something. So I think it's just that fear that
Mm.
the advice you probably could give good advice, but I mean, even like kids, you if you want to give some advice, first thing they'll say, well, you take your own advice because maybe everything didn't go right for me, but that shouldn't stop us because nobody is perfect. But
Exactly.
you learn from not if you were so perfect, you probably wouldn't be able to give advice. But the fact that you have been through some yourself
Hmm.
makes it easy to give the advice to somebody else that's really in need.
Exactly. And I think we
And,
judge people
and
ahead of
Sister
time.
Rountree, Sister
Yes.
Rountree, and
Yes.
like they were saying, maybe Sister Newton, maybe she's young. She's young. She don't know much, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
maybe
judge.
they are telling me say, she's young. I can't take instruction from she.
Mm. There's
You
always
know.
someone younger than us or older than us. That's for sure.
Exactly. That's
That we
it.
can
That's
pour
it.
into. Yeah,
Right. Right.
it's true.
But I think sometimes you there's a lot of us that's been through a lot of things, like have kids earlier than
Hmm.
in life, and we've been through all that. Some of us,
Hmm.
but we won't admit it. We
Mm.
have to open up and let a lot of the like young women or whatever let them know I've been there, so I know.
Right. Right.
I know what you're going through because I've been there, a single mother,
Mm.
and but when you're in the church, a lot of them don't won't come up to you because they think, like you said, think you might be perfect because they see now that you're a spiritual woman and then you haven't been through what you've been through.
Mm.
You know, I mean, I had my child at 19, and a lot of us in the church had our kids before we
Hmm.
was even married.
Hmm.
You know, so that's something that is good for them to know, so they know not to do what we did, just to be better than what we was.
Hmm.
Because we're
That's
not,
it.
like you
That's
said, we're
it.
not perfect.
Right.
We done things that we're not
Supposed to do.
we could have did better. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're not judging us. We heavily judge ourselves. Like you
Right.
say, we sometimes we still holding that embarrassment from the past, and we don't want to share it with others.
Right.
And so I think it goes both ways of giving and receiving. You have
Right.
to be open, open.
Like been there, did that. Been there, did that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Now it's time for us to, we're older now. Is
Share with the younger ones. But as we're
right.
going through the lesson, I want you guys to think of ways that we can get this program.
Can I add a comment when you get a chance?
Pardon?
I said, can I add a comment when you're done?
Yes, yes. Get this program off, ways that we can come together, the older and the younger, and try to build some relationships and friendship that are binding, and it will help the church. Not only it help ourselves, it helps build up the church. Rhonda, you had something?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that if we listen carefully, we can learn something from almost anyone. It may not be the same degree, but I think that we can learn from other people's mistakes. And you just have to evaluate it and see, what makes sense for you.
Exactly. Okay, we'll move on to our next slide. Anyone else have any other comment before we move on? Okay, Chloe, can I have the next slide? I hope I didn't lose her. Okay. These are the benefits of having a mentorship program. Usually in the corporate world, they have a mentorship. They said it should be about 6 months in order to make some kind of effect on them, and no longer than 6 months because people start getting stagnant. But we had said 3 months we were gonna try this. But anybody have any ideas as we go through, we ask at the end, you can share it. Sister Newton asked her to put it down and then we can talk about it. But The benefit of having a mentors program is the affirmation and encouragement. They really believe in you despite your shortcomings. We do that with our kids all the time. We believe in them even though they have shortcomings, and the same with us. We become role models. If you're a mentor, you should be a role model. They realize it's not necessarily the words they say, but it's the action that speaks the loudest. You can't always be telling people something to do that you ain't doing yourself. Girl, you need to get here on time, and you drag in whenever you want to. You have to be role models, not just speak it, but act it, walk it. And accountability. We don't want to be held accountable. That's a hard thing. A spiritual mentor can be someone who is honest with you and tell you when you need to turn your focus back to God. Only if you're really sincere, you want somebody to hold you accountable. You want to do better. You want them to help you do better. You want someone that has advice and a listening ear. You need someone who listens to us, show support. A spiritual mentor does not necessarily speak into your life all the time. They realize that sometimes you just need someone to listen without judgment. And sometimes that's hard to do. But that's something you need to do. I know my kids have said, just listen. And I'd be like, no, I didn't ask for just listen. But you always want to give advice. And then sometimes they just want you to listen. So a good mentor knows when just to listen and not to judge. You know, sometimes they say, I want to talk to you. You get nervous. You don't all the time want to hear what is going to be said. But to listen without judgment is a good mentor. Someone who cares about you and wants the best for you.
Can I say something?
Ola? All right, let me finish reading this last slide.
Okay, because I'm at the movies. I'm getting ready to get out the car.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
As far as a spiritual mentor, I do have friends, and I don't know if I am considered a spiritual mentor. Like with some of my friends, they would call me up about Bible questions. I mean, I'm not perfect. I can only give them what I like scriptures and stuff. Is that considered a, because JoJo went back and she says, you know, this is my new year. I need to get more involved into, you know, learning. So she says, Loretta, don't be surprised if I don't keep calling you up for different questions that I may have. Is that considered a spiritual mentor to her as far as me doing that for her?
Yes. Anytime you encourage someone and listen to them and help them, you want them to grow. You guys want to walk together and, you know, the same faith. Yes, you're mentoring to them.
Okay, because I have coworkers that I also do the same thing too, you know, so I was just wondering if that's the same thing.
Yes, that's mentoring.
Okay.
Chloe, can you, my last slide, I'm only seeing someone who cares about you. No, go back. Sorry. Someone who cares about you and wants the best for you. They know that the most important thing in life is to have a personal relationship with Christ. So they encourage you to invest in him, and I can't read the rest. All right, the next slide, Chloe. The benefit, growing together. That's what we should always be, growing together. Growing together. Taking mentoring beyond small talk and prayer requests. Anybody know what that meant? Taking it beyond small talk and prayer requests. Example, what do you think that means?
More than just, you know, saying, how's your day? Please pray for me for this. And it's about, you know, what are you struggling with? How strong is your faith right now? Anything that I can personally do, you know, to assist you. You know, how about we take some time and chat over lunch, or, you know, let's read a spiritual book together and compare notes and see what we got from it.
Yep, exactly. And I think so many times we dismiss each other quickly when we say, I pray for you. we just throw that out. Pray for you, sis. Like that's the end of it. And a lot of times we don't even do that. We say, I pray for you, sis. But like you said, sometimes you need to sit down and say, what are you struggling with? Is there anything I can help you with? Go beyond that little small talk and that prayer request. They provide guidance, advice, feedback, support, shows a growing faith. And they show you what a growing faith is, to live and to love like Jesus, and to let them know I'm not always been where I am. I struggle too, and I'm struggling now. And I'm going to struggle to the end of how to live and look like Jesus. You don't know what I came through. Some of the things those storms I had to fight through, and it hasn't been easy. But you know what? It's easier when it's two of us doing it, praying for one another, supporting one another. Share their own experience and give insight into situations. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes those past experiences are so hurtful and sometimes so embarrassing. You don't want anyone to know that you was even associated with some of that. But it might just help someone else that's going through it. They seek to honor God in their choices they make on a daily basis. And this provide guidance for those they mentor and encourage them to do the same. And then we talk about the 4 C's. You counsel, correction, get a connection. That's what we're trying to do. Connect with one another, unify with one another, and then become each other champion. Be on their squad, rooting for them for the best. You know how those little cheerleaders do at the game? You're going to be their cheerleader. And then you're going to be a genuine interest in them as a person. Show genuine interest by taking time to know her. Like Sister Newton said, taking them out to lunch or for coffee and really get to know and really want to know them. Not just to be talking and just trying to be nosy, trying to find out about a person, but you are very genuine interest in that person. Respect her independence as a person and compliments her highlights, her qualities, her attributes, and listen and act as a guide. Encourage her, boost her up, the good things they do, even if the small things. You just don't know how much a small thing can do for someone. So compliments and genuine. We're not talking about fake. We're talking about genuine interest in a person. Any comments? Okay. Next one, Chloe. Now, there are plenty mentors in the Bible. Now, you might say, I haven't read the word mentor in the Bible. Mentor is teaching, and we have a lot of that in the Bible. Jethro, he mentored to Moses, Moses to Joshua, and Joshua to the elder. You see how it was a mentor, went to a mentee, the mentee became the mentor, and on, like we were talking about the cycle. Eli to Samuel, Saul to David, Elijah to Elisha, Jesus and the apostle, Paul and Timothy to John Mark, and then Jeremiah and Zephaniah. Barnabas to Paul, Paul to Timothy. Mordecai to Esther. We all know Naomi. She mentored Ruth. Deborah to Barak. Priscilla and Aquila to the Apollos. So these all were mentors or mentee and continued the cycle to go. So there are mentors in the Bible. We might not call them mentors. We call them teachers. But the Bible has always instructed us to be mentors. Any questions?
Sister Ola, I know I'd asked a sister who I know is very, I don't know, she's just very business savvy. She's very, articulate. She's a Christian woman. But I know I had asked her, if she could be like a work, even though she wasn't a nurse, but I said, can you be my work mentor? Meaning if I'm struggling in something, because you are, you're a manager, you've been a manager for years, things like that. You know, if I'm struggling, can I, call you? If I hit, a roadblock, can I call you? Can you give me your, any advice, things like that. And she said yes. And she's still my work mentor to this day. And sometimes, and even though I'm not in a manager position, but you still go through some things, just on a job where you just, need someone that's like a true confidant that can walk you through some things, give you a different perspective, give you a fresh perspective. Um, and so that mentor mentee relationship serves me well. And one of the things that we have to be teachable. Like if we're not gonna, if we don't want to be teachable, if we don't have that desire, it won't work, you know. And it takes a humility. I know Sister Lashana said something about pride. It does take humility. But it's humility that, will really bless your life in a lot of areas. And then I remember when I had broke my leg as a 19-year-old, the Sister Williams, she's passed on now, but she was coming to take care of me because I couldn't walk or anything for 2 weeks before I had surgery. And she would drive 45 minutes or 30 minutes to, bathe me and things like that. But 2 weeks after that, she had let me know that, this is a lot for me to drive and to do all this. If you want me to continue to care for you, I need for you to be able to come live with me. And at that time, I didn't really see it as mentor mentee, because like you say, sometimes we don't even know that we're being a mentee or we're being a mentor. But when I had looked back on that, she actually was being a mentor to me, because as I was in her home, I was observing the kindness that she displayed dealing with me, dealing with her family members, because since I was in her home, I got to see how she dealt with, different family members. I got to see how she prayed, how she studied. And just being in her home for those 3 months, I really learned a lot about prayer. I really learned a lot about devotion, and things like that. But had I not broken my leg, I probably wouldn't have been fortunate to receive that kind of mentoring for my spiritual life.
Mm-hmm. Very good. All right. Great. Chloe, next slide. Paul instruction to Timothy. Paul may not have used the specific word mentor, but he does outline and teach mentorship to both men and women. And Sister Newton, you were going to read Titus 2, do 3 through 5, and you have that?
3 through 5? Okay. Okay. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed.
Okay, great. Now, it's no secret that women are naturally relational bodies. Personally, I think this is a good thing. It's a gift from God. Now, when God created man and women, he gave us both each characteristics that reflects his own. And we as women receive the strong desire to bond with each other. This is one of the reasons why relationships are so important to women. They value their marriage. They value the relationship with their kids and with friends. And the other thing that we should value is our relationship as mentorship. In the Christian realm, we hear the word mentor thrown around, but where is it in the Bible? We just told you Timothy told us to teach. Chloe, could you get the next slide? Did we just, okay. He gives us guidance to a mature woman of faith on how they should live their life and what they should be teaching to mentoring the younger women. No matter what age, there are women older than us and wiser than us that has been through our current stage of life. Likewise, there is someone younger than us and less experienced than us that could use our counsel and example. You see, no matter your stage of life, there is a continuous cycle of mentoring and being mentored. Next. Now, it's interesting to a point that in Titus 2, the women were the only category of people that Paul did not tell Titus to teach. Titus was to instruct the older men, the younger men, and slaves. But he tells Titus to have the older women teach the younger women. Ladies, we have an important responsibility here as a woman. And this is not limited by a set age and or your marital status. Next slide, Chloe. So what can we do? Live the life God calls you to live and teach other women to do the same. Seek out a younger woman to place under your wing. If you're a mom, start with your daughters. Connect with older, wise, older women from where you can learn. One woman may not fit all areas. Younger women, be humble and open to wise counsel. And older women, be non-judgmental and open to new perspectives. Perspectives, yes. And I can't see the rest. I don't know why. Is there another slide under that, Chloe, that I just read? Okay, go to the next one then. Mentorships bring about a closer friendship. Remember, sisters, all are we. Next slide. So we have scripture that support mentoring spiritually. Ephesians 4:32 tell us to be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you. Proverbs 18:24, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. Ecclesiastes 4:9 tell us two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. And 1 Thessalonians 5:1, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. Our next. Whoever walks with the wise become wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Romans tells us that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine. And Amos, can two walk together unless they agree? These are building friendship scriptures. Next slide, Chloe. Oh, this is just showing you to meet my team. Chloe, my opening prayer, Tanya, my song, and my poor Martina had emergency, so she wasn't here. So can I ask one lady to please do our closing prayer, because Martina was going to do that. So think about it while we finish up. I think that was it on my slides, Chloe. Oh, I just want to say thank you, ladies, for listening to our mentoring program preparation, but we will have more on mentoring and friendship when we have our refresh program. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But many of us remember, heard, read over and over Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman. But today we talked about Titus 2:1, and that is to keep the cycle going. Each one teach one. So ladies, if you have ideas on how we can do this, how we can become closer with one another, we would gladly hear it. But right now, that's the end of my little presentation.